How's it going, everyone? This is Zach. Welcome to the channel. I am back with a review for episode 7 of the Witcher series on Netflix, titled Before a Fall. The fall being the fall of Cintra, as we all know. And unlike the previous episodes to this one, episode 7 isn't primarily based around a short story from the first two books. It draws information from a couple of the short stories as well as some things from the third book called Blood of the Elves. The show also creates some stories of its own to fit its narrative, such as Geralt being in Cintra at the time of the Nilfgaardian attack. And overall, this was a pretty good episode. It was much better than episodes 5 and 6 in my opinion. So as always, if you enjoyed the video, leave a like and comment. Consider subscribing so you don't miss any of my videos. And with that, guys, let's get into the episode. Okay guys, and for the last time, I'm going to talk about the timeline, as in the next episode they should all be in this exact same time period. So both Yennefer and Geralt's story in this episode are taking place days before the fall of Cintra, if not the day before. So right before the events we see in episode 1, and Ciri's story is taking place probably a few days to a week after Cintra has been defeated. Okay guys, so starting with Ciri's story this episode, we see she's entering a town and she's trying to get to the islands of Skellig. A woman offers to help her and house her, and instead Ciri steals her horse and is later found in a field by her friend Anton, which was one of the kids she was playing Knucklebones with in the first episode. He has a group of guys with him, and they actually try to kidnap her to sell to Nilfgaard for a large sum of money. And as you could have guessed, her source power activates, and we hear an otherworldly voice speaking through her. Now this voice starts spouting off what seems like a prophecy, but one line that we have heard before is, "The era of the sword and axe is nigh." So I'm not going to go into what this prophecy is, because that's heavy spoilers for the rest of the show when it comes back on, as well as the books. But we have heard that line before by Cahir at the end of the last episode. So this lets us know that whatever motivation Nilfgaard has, or whatever prophecy they are following that is driving them to attack the Northern Realms, is connected to Ciri, and revolves heavily around Ciri. Okay guys, getting into Yennefer's story, she arrives in a place called Nazair, which is a province of Nilfgaard, and she is there to meet Istredd. So we see that they still have affection for one another, and Yen blatantly tells him that she wants to be with him. They can resume the plans they made in the second episode and travel the continent together. Istredd, however, tells her that after all of these years he's tried to get close to her and she has always shut him down, so he has finally decided to completely focus on his work, and he turns her away. This is when we're introduced to a new character named Vilgefortz, who tells her they need to leave Nazair before they are conscripted to fight for Nilfgaard. So it's just like the draft in our world, that anytime Nilfgaard could come and force them to fight on their side. Vilgefortz convinces Yennefer to come to Aretuza with him, and that she is needed there by both him and Tissaia. So she primarily goes for Tissaia. And when she gets there, Vilgefortz reveals that he lied. Tissaia doesn't even know she's there, which makes Yennefer mad, and she runs off on her own. Now Vilgefortz is a super important character in the books and the Witcher universe as a whole, so keep an eye out for him in future seasons, because he's going to play a major role in how the story develops. Yen takes a stroll down Memory Dungeon Lane, where she used to live, and she finds a bunch of girls. Now the only thing of importance in this scene is that we find out some of these girls' parents are paying Aretuza so they can come here and try to learn magic, even though some of them have no magical ability whatsoever. And it appears as though they're not taking it very seriously. So Yen takes them down and shows them the windmill, which is where all the girls who failed to ascend were turned into ills. And it's almost as if Yennefer regrets becoming a sorceress, because she says that giving up their ability to create life and give birth means they cannot have a family, and that they will be solely loyal to the Brotherhood of Sorcerers and can be controlled much more easily than if they had a family or other personal ties. Also, that becoming beautiful and becoming a court mage is not all it's cracked up to be, as she had to deal with political idiocy and helping unworthy people succeed for many years. Tissaia interrupts, and we see there's a gathering of mages, including Triss, who we were introduced to in episode 3, and we find out that Nilfgaard is attacking Cintra, so this is taking place right as the start of the fall of Cintra is happening. And there's two sides to the mages, one led by Tissaia and Vilgefortz, and one led by Stregobor. So Stregobor wants to let Cintra handle this on their own, because they have never wanted to work with the Brotherhood of Sorcerers, and why get involved with someone who has never wanted anything to do with you, and put yourself at risk in the process. Whereas Tissaia and Vilgefortz see Nilfgaard as a threat to their way of life, and if they are allowed to take Cintra, what is stopping them from continuing to invade the Northern Realms? This is when Fringilla enters. She is the mage that is working with Nilfgaard. She explains that Nilfgaard has modified their way of life for the better, they've strengthened their trade, they have funded research, and she adds that if the mages will not side with Nilfgaard, then they need to stay out of the way completely. So they put it up to a vote, and the majority decides to let Cintra handle it on their own. However, a small group of mages decides they want to try to help take back Cintra, and we can deduce that this group consists of at least Yennefer, Tissaia, and Vilgefortz, and we will see who else in the next episode. Okay guys, now talking about Geralt. He's standing on a mountain. He can see the approaching Nilfgaard army. It is a huge amount of soldiers, obviously an invading force, and this causes him to make the decision to finally go back to Cintra and check on his child surprise and make sure it is healthy and safe. So there's been a ton of things in this past couple episodes pushing him to go back, and Borch, the golden dragon from the last episode, is a main one when he implied that his destiny is still out there, also known as his child surprise. So Geralt sets up a secret meeting with Mousak in Cintra, where Mousak tells him that his child surprise is not a boy, it is actually a girl, and that her parents Pavita and Duny were killed at sea a fairly long time ago, and that Calanthe has been raising the child since. Mousak is wondering why Geralt all of a sudden cares about the child surprise. Geralt lets him know about the Nilfgaard army that is approaching Cintra, but Mousak doesn't seem too worried about it, believing that Calanthe has fortified the city well enough. And then we see that Calanthe knows Geralt is here and she sends some guards to kill him, but they fail when he takes Mousak hostage, who is then forced to portal them both away before they are both killed. We see Calanthe in a courtyard. She's being pretty cocky about being able to hold off Nilfgaard, and it looks like Mousak's portal brought him and Geralt right to her, and she's very surprised to see Geralt, saying she warned him about ever coming back. Now this is when we learn that it's actually been 12 years since episode 4, and Geralt has never once come back to Cintra in those 12 years. Calanthe tells Geralt that she will pay him anything he wants to not claim the child surprise, and Mousak warns her that destiny cannot be outbid, and that kings who have tried have ended up dead. Geralt even tells her he does not want to claim the child surprise. All he wants to do is take her away from Cintra during the Nilfgaard attack, and he promises to keep her safe and return her when it is over. It's a very reasonable offer, and Calanthe appears to take him up on it. But as we see when Geralt goes to meet Ciri, it is a fake Ciri, but of course Geralt does not know this, as he has never seen her. Geralt walks out to the city street and sees a couple of kids playing in the road, and the girl he just saw, who was supposed to be Ciri, comes running out, says goodbye to her friends, and curtsies to one of the kids, saying goodbye, your highness. Now this is a very cool scene because this is from the first episode where we see Ciri out in the street playing with some kids just before she is summoned into the palace for a ceremony, and something draws her attention to her side, but when she looks there's nothing there. Well, now we know that that something was Geralt, who has moved away before Ciri saw him, and so now Geralt knows what Ciri looks like, and he also knows that Calanthe has lied to him. And this is when we learn that Geralt is in Cintra literally the day before the attack by Nilfgaard. When Geralt confronts Calanthe again about taking Ciri, she refuses to budge, and Ice shows up, who offers no support to Geralt even though he once supported the Law of Surprise. Now his reasoning is that he loves his granddaughter and does not want to give her up either. So they take Geralt prisoner, and he is in this keep when Cintra is attacked. So there was a line in the very first episode where Calanthe orders Mousak to go get someone out of the gatekeep, and we never hear anything else about it the entire season. I mean, hell, I even chalked it up to the show just writing in a line that they never were going to resolve, but we actually see now that she was talking about Geralt. So Mousak goes to get Geralt out of the keep after he convinces Calanthe that they have nothing left to lose and that destiny may yet save them. And she also realizes that Geralt may be Ciri's best bet of surviving this. But as we see, Geralt knocks out a guard and escapes before Mousak gets to him, and he runs out into the city in search of Ciri, where he sees Calanthe commit suicide by jumping out of the window. So he runs back into the palace, but we know by now that Ciri is out of the city and he has missed his chance. So it was very cool to see them connect the characters in this way around the fall of Cintra, with Geralt being mere seconds away from Ciri, so they just barely missed each other. I really like how the show lets the viewer decide if they believe this is destiny or not. Did all of this happen because Geralt never came back to claim his child of surprise? Or because Calanthe refused to let Geralt take Ciri when he finally came around to do so? Or would this be the sequence of events that always played out no matter what? So you know the saying, don't mistake coincidence for fate. Well, when things happen like we saw in this episode, where they missed each other by mere seconds after being apart for 12 years, and then with what we're going to see in the next episode, it's difficult to deny destiny and not believe that it's real. So overall, a very good episode. I would give it an 8 out of 10, ranking it up there with my other favorite episode, which is number 3. I think I liked it so much because we got to see the storylines lead up to the present, and we get a full understanding of the events that we've been seeing all season. And so next episode, we will wrap up the season. I'm looking forward to seeing how they end it, and how they interpret it from the books. And if you made it this far, I would like to thank you for watching. If you enjoyed the video, leave a like and comment what you thought about the episode, whether you liked it or not. Also subscribe so you don't miss any of my videos, and I will see you in the next one, the season finale.